Tech Talk Tuesday, number 131. Hey, Scott. Hey, Peter. Let's sign some more up. Come on, you guys. Sean, Charlie, Edmerson. Hey, Charlie, Edmerson. Scott, John. How y'all doing? Peace, Scott. Charlie, Edmerson. Thank you, Charlie. Josh Roy, Ron Yates. Wow, Ron, I hadn't seen you in a while. You doing all right? How's Cammy and them? GB. Yeah. Zachary, Steve, Kevin, Cash. That's a cool name, man. Cash Bryce. Yeah, that would be a great name. Hey, Chris, I saw your note just now when I was preparing, and I want to say God bless you, man. I'm praying for you, man. Blessings your way. Thank you. Same. Blessings back to you, my friend. Can y'all hear me okay? Let me turn this volume up. I don't know if that matters. There we go. Give me a time, an official Facebook time, one of you. And also, hey, Ronnie. And also a volume check. Tell me if you can hear me okay. I see me. All right. Seth, Ben. Good evening, Mr. George. Yep. Okay. What do you think? Sound on time. Okay. I guess that means 6 o'clock Georgia time, right? Eastern, 6 o'clock. Hey, Chris. Hey, Jackie. Charlie. Katie, Texas. How y'all? Hey, 501. Great. All right. So in my neck of the woods over here, we're at 501. Yeah. And Georgia 601. And I also heard that in the Atlantic Ocean it's like 701, and then a little bit further east from there is like 801, and it keeps going by the hour until we get to England, and it's about 7 or 8 hours difference, I think. Hey, James, thank y'all for clicking in. Hey, Charlie, got several Charlies. Hey, Ben, 5 by 5 times 5, and this is Tech Talk number 131. And I'm going to do a little practical applications today. I'm going to talk. First, I want to tell you a quick story. And for you guys that are clicked in early, Western Australia 701. Thank you guys for clicking in. I really appreciate all the check-ins. Thank you all. Nice hat. Yeah, I love Fords and Chryslers too, and I like a Hemi. I don't care if Chevrolet or Ford or Chrysler makes it, but I love me a Hemi. And I like Jim Bob. I just like engines that are really cool. I love cool engines, dude. And some of them, Fords, you know, the Boss 429 was always very awesome to me. The 426 Hemi, and then of course the 454 and the good old small block Chevy 302. I was big fans of all of those. Now the new engines, wow, look at how they do. We're really blessed with some really, really great engines coming out now with the Ford on the Godzilla deal, and then the LS3 and LS7, some of those really great engines coming along. All right, before we get going backwards, Hemi's right, yeah. John, hey, John Kazi, speaking of a Boss 429, I think John's a Boss 829, or maybe 629. John's Boss with some big cubic inches. James, JJ, Alex, thank y'all. So I had some experience, a couple things that I want to tell you real quick. You know, my daughter, Julie's 24 now, and I don't want to embarrass her, but she lives in Nashville, and she's a real estate agent now, and she's doing really well, and she's married to Tyler Bennett, and he's an engineer, and he's got a great job. Julie's got a great job, so I'm very proud of him. So I'm doing the mom and daddy brag thing for a minute, but I wanted to tell you a real quick story about when we were racing NHRA back in the 90s, and we had a big sponsorship. It was a sponsorship that was put together by RJ Reynolds Tobacco and Sports Marketing, and it was called Close Call Phone Card. And that was back when the phone cards were important, and you had to have a phone card. You paid money for the phone card, and you could dial on a payphone, which a lot of folks on here, youngins, don't know what a payphone is, and some folks do. But my story I want to tell you is Julie was born in July of 1997, and that was right in the middle of our racing career, our season, and we were really doing well. Hey, Mark, Harvey, we were doing well. Mark Anthony, we were doing great, David, and we were winning. And John Myers, the late great John Myers, was racing on our team. We had the Close Call Phone Card blue bike, late great John Myers raced, and then we had the pink and yellow bike that Angel was racing. And we were at Indy. Julie was 6 weeks old. We were at the U.S. Nationals, and John and Angel were qualified really well with those two bikes. And Jackie was at home with a newborn, Julie. And Jackie, the doctors told her not to travel because she had a C-section, and we wanted her to heal up nice, and it's good for you to stay home with the baby and all that cool stuff. Hey, Ronnie, and two Ronnies and Mike. But Jackie was, when nobody was looking, she went over to somewhere over by Reynolds, no, off I-75, I forgot the name of it over there, but she rented a motorhome, one of the ones with the van on the front and the camper on the back, one of those, I don't know the class, but she rented this motorhome, and she put Julie on the couch and shimmed her up with pillows, and she was 6 weeks old, and Jackie drove to Indy in this little van to go without telling me or anyone, and she was driving along and looked back behind her seat on the couch to see if the baby was still there, and she'd have to pull over every now and then and tend to her, Julie. But we were at Indy, I think it was Friday, and we were just qualified, maybe it was Saturday. Hey, Kevin. And Jackie drove to Indy with the baby on the couch by herself, and 6 weeks old. And when Jackie got to Indy, she knew how to get in the back way and go to the circle track and pull up in there. And she met Buggy, and Buggy had a parking spot saved for her. And then Buggy gave her a ride, Julie and Jackie, and they went to the other side of the track, went all the way to the end, and they rented a golf cart. And so Jackie had a team shirt. It was a big one because she had just been pregnant. And so she came driving up. We were on the left lane pit side, sportsman pit side, and Jackie came driving up in the pits. We had the close call 18-wheeler, and we had two Pro Stock bikes and the full team, and here comes Jackie riding up in a golf cart with the baby. And I almost dropped my teeth. I'm like, wow, Jackie, how did you get here? I said, you know you can't fly. And she said, I drove. I said, what did you drive? She said, I rented a little mini van, and I drove here with the baby, and I didn't want to miss Indy, and I wanted her to come, and I wanted to come. And of course, Julie didn't know any better. But it was a great story at the end because Jackie, she can't help it. She goes to the tower to introduce Julie to all the tower personnel that she's been working with. And they asked her if she would talk on the PA. And I have a really nice photograph of Sid Waterman and Bill in the tower with Jackie on the microphone talking with the baby in her lap. Julie's laying in her lap, and Jackie's talking on the microphone, and she's doing commentary to the races, and Julie was making little baby noises in the background, and every now and then you could hear it. And so we won the race on Monday. John Myers, late great John Myers, out of his 33 national event wins in NHRA competition, he won the U.S. Nationals on that Monday, Labor Day. And Jackie and Julie and all of us, the close call team, all the big shots, all the R.J. Reynolds tobacco people, they were sports marketing, which was a separate company from inside RJR that handled all the marketing for RJR, and then Close Call was a client, and they hired us to run the race team for them. So anyway, we had the biggest winner's circle, and so here's Jackie, 6 weeks, just had a baby. Here's Julie, this big, and she was in winner's circle, and John Myers won, and we called up and ordered a couple of extra trophies. We ordered one for Carl, for the Close Call team, the guy that owned the Close Call team. We sent him a trophy, and then we got one for Julie, and Julie still has it today. It's the 1997 U.S. Nationals Wally. It's about this big. It was bigger than her, and it's still in her bedroom, still on display. But Jackie has been that woman. I mean, before she was pregnant, she just was not going to miss the race and do the commentary and be the part owners in the team. But I just wanted to brag on her for a minute because I had that story. I've told it a few times, but I haven't really told it on here on my Tech Talk, but I thought it would be a cool story to tell because you guys that know Jackie know that she's a little bit different. And so is Julie now, because Julie was in the winner's circle at the U.S. Nationals when she was 6 weeks old, and in the tower doing the commentary, so it was neat. Julie got to go to a lot more races after that. Jackie got to go to a lot more races. And the next year, we were Team Winston. We were done with the close call deal, but we came out with the Team Winston, the red and white. We were the big red machine. We were pitted with Alan Johnson and the top fuel team. It was called Big Red, and Angel was driving the Winston bike, and we were pitted together. And Julie, every time she go to the races, she'd have to learn how to negotiate and navigate around the nitromethane that the top fuel car would run. So when they would fire up the top fuel car, she would come running in the 18-wheeler and run up in the lounge and put her face down in the cushions of the sofa, and she would yell "Nitro," just like all the people outside. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew that it would clean your sinuses out at 1 year old. And that next year, that was the next year of the U.S. Nationals, 1998. Jackie was in the tower announcing. I'm walking around on the starting line. This is funny, and I'm walking around on the starting line. There's a little bit of dead air. The bikes are down. They're sweeping the track. They're spraying the glue. Everything's quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and I could hear Jackie talking, and I could hear Bob Fry talking, and a little bit up in the tower. And then all of a sudden, I heard a little voice over the PA come over all the speakers at U.S. Nationals, and it said, "Dada." Julie was in the tower, and she saw the microphone, and she leaned over at 1 year old and spoke in the microphone and called my name because she saw me walking around the starting line. Anyway, it made me laugh, and I just wanted to share it with you. But never mind the old stories. There are some guys really love to hear that stuff. But the last thing she did that was really great about that racing team, I don't remember how old she was. She was about 6 or 7, and she started elementary school, Julie. And 1 year, the teachers told all the students to bring something to school tomorrow that starts with the letter A, and then the next week they did B, C, D, and they finally got to N. Bring something that starts with the letter N, and Julie brought Gary Selsey's piston, had his signature on it, out of the top fuel car, out of Big Red. And the teacher said, "What's this?" And she said, "N for nitro." And that's what she introduced to the class. So, hey, you know what? I get to do Tech Talk every week for 130-something weeks now, and I get to brag on Jackie every now and then. I get to brag on Julie a little bit, and I'm sure their faces are red and they're embarrassed, but I'm not, because I'm just the dad of those and a husband. And Jackie's my partner, been my partner for all those years. So we started racing when we were teenagers, and I just wanted to share a minute with her. But today, some things I learned I wanted to talk to you about is I revisited some dyno experience that suit every kind of engine and every kind of dynoing. But today, I was really thinking deep about the chassis dyno for the motorcycles and for the Harleys. And one thing that I remembered that was important for you guys that pay attention to this stuff and get your bikes dynoed, I wanted to share that the back wheel, the back rim, and the back tire, the weight of it shows on the dyno sheet. So if you dyno your motorcycle, put a cam and a pipe, it makes X horsepower, and then you tear it apart and build the engine, and you get about a 40 horsepower upgrade, and you get billet chrome wheels, and you get some big tire, and you have to do a lot of work to make all that fit, and the tire and wheel weighs 20 pounds more than what it was dynoed on it to start with. Please be prepared to show a significant power loss. And it's not the engine that makes less power, it's how much power the wheel can put to the drum on the dyno. If you have a lightweight wheel and a lightweight tire, then you can put more of the energy from that engine into the drum through the wheel and tire. We had a 200 horsepower Pro Street engine that had the S&S cast Pro Stock heads and the big cylinders and big bore and stroke, and it made 145 cubic inches. One of them was 139, one was 145. And we put it in a big tire bike. We put a 300 millimeter rear tire and a 10-inch wide PM chrome wheel. And the engine made 200 horsepower in a regular bike. And we put it in this big giant tire chopper, and it made 150 horsepower to the tire. So the wheel and tire was 40 pounds overweight of the one that was on it. And then that 40 pounds of rotation, that big mass out at 18 inches cost us 40 or 50 horsepower. And I just wanted you guys to be knowing that when you do work and you get your engine built and you get it dynoed, and then you go somewhere else and get the chassis or the wheels and tires done and you make less power, be mindful of who you blame for that, because a lot of times It's not the engine builder's fault. It's not the wheel and tire guy. It's not the dyno guy. It's just what really happens. Now, if it lost that much on the dyno, what did it do on the street? Great question. So if you made 200 with the stock wheel and tire, and then you put a giant right side drive transmission, and you put the chain on the right side, and then you put this 300 millimeter tire with a big 10-inch wide wheel, and your engine only makes 150 horsepower, just know the engine still makes the same power as it did, but it's putting only 150 down. That's because of how hard it is to turn. And the way a chassis dyno works is the weight matters a bunch. And it measures how much time it takes, about the RPM plus the weight, to figure out the power it puts out. There are some dyno experts on here that know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking to you guys that haven't seen what I've seen, and do not be disappointed or surprised if you buy heavy parts to go on your bike to make it look a certain way and then it doesn't give you the results you want. Because a big wheel and tire looks good in the garage, it looks good at bike night, and it looks good walking around with a video camera and put some LED lights on it, and that stuff looks awesome. But if you want to race somebody with a little wheel and tire with a carbon fiber wheel on the back, or one of those really lightweight billet wheels on the back, be prepared to get your hiney handed to you, because you are going to be toting a passenger in that big wheel and tire. Another one that works on the chassis dyno, guys, is the giant stereo. Saddlebags. I have taken saddlebags off of baggers. It weighs so much that I felt like I needed a transmission jack or a floor jack or two young guys to help me take the bags off. That costs you horsepower. The Tour Pack with the 2 amps and the big car battery to power the amps and the subs and the big stereo. I understand why you want that stuff, but it's not your fastest motorcycle. The one with the stereo and the subs and the big wheels and tires is your slowest motorcycle. The one that has the lightweight parts bolted onto it and the lightweight person riding it goes faster. If I had 250 horsepower Milwaukee 8s, one of them had stereo sound and billet wheels, and I rode both of them, and they both had the same horsepower with the stock chassis or on an engine dyno, and you put one in the lightweight bike, and I rode it, and I ran a 1050 at 125. You could put that same engine into the sound system bike with the billet wheels and the big wheels and tires, and the same guy, same engine, run it, and I could be over a half a second and 5 mile an hour slower because of the stereo and the big wheels and tires. So this is just something I've learned the hard way, and I've had to explain it to a ton of people, and the guys that don't understand that weight matters, it's like they think I'm trying to come up with a reason why they lost horsepower, but it's not. Now, this is just something you need to know. I see several guys writing stuff that comes by here, and if you want a fast motorcycle, you probably need two. You need 2 bikes. You need one to look good, sound good, and ride and enjoy it, and then you also need a real fast one. So when somebody calls me up and they say, I need a 200 horsepower M8 bagger to go to Sturgis and back, I want to go cross country and run with the gang, I want to go way across yonder, and I want to go to Daytona, and I want to spend all day going 2 blocks in Daytona through the traffic, it's going to melt the engine, it's going to melt your legs, it's going to be hot, and it's not going to be happy. You need to get you a stock motorcycle to go to Daytona. You need to get you a stock bike to go to Sturgis and back. Now, don't say George said you can't have a hot rod motorcycle go to a Daytona, go to Sturgis. I did not say that, because you're going to do it. I've done it. Everybody else has done it, but it's not the happy place for that motorcycle. Just want you to know that. Another thing I learned is when you get 5, 6, 7 years ago, all twin cam hot rod guys, we were making 130, 140 foot-pounds, and there was no spark knot much at all. There was no blown head gaskets. There was no overheating, because we were using 93 octane, 91 octane, and we were making 130, 140 foot-pounds of torque. Well, now everybody's M8, everybody's 131, 128s, 124s, all these big engines with stock heads make 140 foot-pounds with stock heads. And then we take a 131 that makes 130 horse, 130, 140 foot-pounds, and then we port the heads, put big valves, and we put a bigger cam, more lift, maybe short duration, maybe too short on the intake side, and we're going to make 160 foot-pounds, and it's going to blow the head gas. It's going to run hot because of the gasoline, not because of the engine builder's mistakes, not because of the choice of parts. It's just that we were taking gasoline that will make 120, 130 foot-pounds of torque every 2 cylinders. Now make it a V8. Just do the math. Take 130 times 4, and that's how much foot-pounds of torque your engine can live on with 91 or 93 octane. Now, if you can go higher, if you can go more torque and make more low-end power and more cylinder pressure, you're going to have to take timing out and put octane booster in it. But it's not the engine builder's fault. It is what we're trying to do with the gasoline. So when somebody tells me my engine makes 160 foot-pounds, I'm like, man, you had to have somebody tune that thing to keep it from blowing up, because 160 foot-pounds of torque at 3,000, 4,000 RPM is going to detonate, and you're going to have to pull timing away. And I know this sounds dumb, but when you pull ignition timing away, the cylinder head temperature goes up. And when you got hot cylinder heads, hot cylinders, hot pistons, and the timing turned down, you're going to be asking for a lot of trouble. A little bit of octane, it goes a long way. So me, when I ride like Buck or Backzilla or Boogeyman or whatever, I would put a gallon of raised gas in with 3 gallons of pump gas. I would run 3 gallons of 93 octane and 1 gallon of 110. And that octane was just enough to put enough into the 193 octane to give it enough detonation suppressant. And also I'd put enough race gas in it to add enough octane to get past the detonation suppressant of the 93. So maybe it was somewhere around 98 or 100, but you gotta know where that threshold is. And the more cylinder pressure you make, the lower the RPM you run it, and the more manifold pressure you load to it, the more throttle and the more load and the more gear. Like, think about this, 6th gear, high gear, full throttle, 2,000 RPM, big manifold air pressure, map sensors go pegged out. Your gasoline's going to explode before the spark plug goes off, because that's called uncontrolled detonation. It's called it's spark knock. It's ping. And if you're not controlling when the spark happens, you can't control the combustion of the engine. Now, it takes 30 seconds here. I don't have a clock on me, and I'm talking on my clock. Somebody give me a quick shout out what time it is. I got a couple more things I want to go over, but give me a quick shout out. I know it's going to take 20 seconds for it to show up on the screen. Go ahead, show me. Bring it on in, bring it on in. Come on. What'd you get? 5:22. Thank you. Man, that wasn't even 20 seconds. Good job, 5:22. Okay, so you got another thing that I've learned is engines on the dyno, they go up, and then at some RPM they will nose over. And there's, my opinion, there's 3 reasons. One is you ran out of air, so the camshaft needs to have more duration to it. That's one. Or the second is the exhaust system is too restrictive, and the exhaust ports are too small, the exhaust valve's too small, and the cam favors the intake, and the valves favor the intake, and the exhaust gets cheated. So when that amount of horsepower goes through and goes into the exhaust, then the exhaust fills up, and when the exhaust system fills up, it comes back into the engine. And when that exhaust system is full, it doesn't matter how much more RPM you turn it, or how big the throttle body is, or how big the intake valves are, or how big the ports are. No more air will go in the engine because the exhaust is full. So I just have this crazy saying that says, once the exhaust is full, you're done. It won't climb, it won't make more power, it will nose over, because the exhaust system is full. Now, I saw an independent runner V8 on the dyno last week run, and at some RPM, the standoff was coming out of the stacks, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I see when the standoff comes out of the stacks, the exhaust system is filling up, and when the exhaust system fills up, it stays about the same distance away from the reversion. And when the exhaust comes out and goes up, it's pushing the intake back out the stack. So it shows when your exhaust system is full, that standoff. Also, your dyno curve shows it. The next reason that I see engines fall over early is because of ring seal. So you can come up with some band-aids, you can come up with a breather, you can come up with a couple other things to help alleviate that cylinder, the crankcase pressure based on escaped cylinder pressure getting past the rings, going in the bottom end, pressurizing the bottom end, and then that builds up pressure and it makes the rings come loose from the pistons at some RPM. Because the pistons go up and stop, the pistons go down and stop. And when the piston goes up at 6,000 RPM and it stops, the ring comes loose and the pressure blows right by and goes in the bottom end, makes the bottom end big pressure. When you lose ring seal at whatever RPM it is, 6,000, 6,500, wherever, when you lose ring seal, the horsepower curve falls over also. So you got three. You're out of air, the exhaust system's full, or you lost ring seal. And how do you know which one's what? Well, you got to have some more instrumentation or really get pretty strong on your back and start doing some cut and try and some just try it and learn. Try it and learn. Try it and learn. That's how I learned it. Back when we were learning that stuff, we didn't have the internet, Google, cell phone, fax machine. We were just stuck in the woods, and we had to learn the hard way by just trying more different things until we figured it out. I see a couple things. My clock has run out of time. My light is going down where I'm talking in the dark now, and I've been talking in the dark most of my life, but I wanted to tell y'all real quick, listen, standard procedure. This is not the gospel. This is not the only truth. This is what I think I know. So I'm telling you the things that I think I learned based on all my mistakes, all the stuff I did wrong in my life, and I've proved it several times to make me satisfied with my results of what I think I learned. So please don't say George said this and George said that as it's the only way it can be. It's only one way that I'm thinking of. And there's a lot of experts on here that I respect and appreciate that you have your opinions too, and I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you these are my opinions. 131 times blessed by this to be able to do this every week for my third year. I'm going to say good night and thank y'all so much. Please check with me again, and I need your feedback. I need you to tell me what you would love to hear about and what you need to learn about. And I saw a couple come by while I was wide open here. I get up on the tire and get up on my own, try to get my point across when I'm up on my soapbox. But thank y'all so much again for watching, and I'll be in better light and I'll have more light to shed on the subjects next Tuesday. May God bless y'all, and good night.